Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to the episode 11 of ISO 9001 2015 series. In this particular episode, we will be talking about the clause number 5, which is leadership. So you can see that leadership clause is divided into three sub clauses: 5.1 leadership and commitment, 5.2 which is policy, quality policy, and 5.3 organizational roles and responsibilities and authorities. And I will be basically including the text which is available in ISO 9001 2015 as standard. So those people who have not gone through with the standard as yet, or who doesn't have the standard at the moment, they will be able to see what exactly standard is requiring, and then clause by clause we will be discussing the requirements. Clause 5.1 is about leadership and commitment. It's a very important clause in ISO 9001 2015 version, but I believe, based upon my experience, that this is the most underrated clause by all the implementers and all the auditors. During the implementation of quality management system, people don't take it seriously. They believe that this is something very generic. Generally, the management system is not established by the top management or under their guidance. Management system is established at a lower level, and that particular level doesn't want to communicate all these responsibilities to the top management. So most of the times, top management is not even aware what this particular clause is expecting from them. So normally what happens, all these requirements which are identified in clause 5.1.1 related to the commitment and leadership, they are basically identified in some form of a manual or in some form of a document, and it is justified that all these requirements have been already addressed. And most of the times, the auditors, the third party auditors, the internal auditors, they don't go into the details of these requirements as well, and they don't even meet the top management. So you don't really audit the top management most of the time. In some cases, yes, top management is too involved, and top management is part of every audit, whether internal or external. But generally speaking, the leadership is missing from the third party audits, from the internal audits. And that's where we feel that we need to improve, because if the involvement of top management is not there within the quality management system, if their commitment is not there, if the direction is not given by them, if they don't realize what this particular clause is all about and what exactly is asking, then it will be very difficult for anybody at a different level, at a lower level, to implement the requirements of this clause, because that clause is talking about the role of top management, and some decisions will be required at that level, where the resources might be needed, where some directions might be needed, where some strategic direction might need to be defined. So you need to make sure that the top management is fully aligned, top management is on board, and top management is involved in implementing this particular clause. See, the role of top management is extremely important in implementing quality management system, because the management system should be developed according to the strategic direction of the organization. And if top management is not on board, the strategic direction will be going somewhere else, and the quality management system will be going somewhere else, and you will not be able to implement the real quality management system which is needed by the organization. So commitment is certainly required by top management according to this standard, but not only the commitment. They need to demonstrate their commitment by doing something which is defined in clause 5.1.1. The very first thing, which says that the top management must take accountability for the effectiveness of quality management systems. So see, the very first clause of this particular standard says, or this particular subclause says, that the top management is accountable for the effectiveness of quality management system, not the management representative, not the general manager, not the quality assurance manager, not the consultant, not anybody else. It will be the top management, whoever is the top management in your organization, whether it is CEO, or it is the managing director, or it is the board of directors, whatever. They need to take accountability. If something good is happening in quality management system, they should take the pride. If something bad is happening within the quality management system, if the quality management is not producing the intended results, if you are not able to satisfy the customer, if you are not able to deliver the products on time, if you are not able to reduce your quality cost, if you are not able to improve your productivity, if you are not able to improve your profitability, in that case, in all those areas, top management should take the accountability. It is their responsibility to effectively implement the quality management system. Point number B says that the top management shall ensure that the quality policy and quality objectives are established for quality management system and they are compatible with the context and strategic direction of the organization. This is extremely important point. Quality policy is one of the requirements, and quality objectives are basically requirements of this particular standard. But what exactly they do, they provide direction to the organization's quality management system, and they provide direction to all the employees within the organization. Uh, and this direction must be provided by the top management. So top management, based upon their goals, they are aware uh, what is their look ahead plan, what they are expecting after 5 years, after 10 years, after 20 years, after 50 years. They know what is the context of the organizations, what are the factors which are influencing their policies, and they know what the stakeholders wants, and they know what the shareholders want, they know what the banks want, they know what the insurance companies want, and they know what the governmental agencies wants from them. So based upon that knowledge, they need to define the quality policy, they need to make sure that quality policy is established, they need to make sure that quality objectives are established at relevant levels and function. So this is an extremely important role of top management to define quality policy and ensure that quality objectives are established at relevant functions. And that's also should be aligned with the context of the organization and strategic direction of the organization. So point number D says that the top management will ensure that the interaction of the quality management system requirements into the organization's business processes. We need to understand this point. This is extremely important. The business processes are basically high level processes which are established by the top management, and that is established based upon a lot of experience by like the inputs are given by a lot of technical experts from various different processes, various different areas. For example, if you want to establish your purchasing process, you will be requiring support from all those people who are technically competent in the procurement activities. If you are defining your business process for design and development activities, you are using the technical expertise of various people who are having the expertise in design and development. So organizations basically, because they are trying to achieve their organizational objectives and they are trying to satisfy their customers and other bodies, even before implementing or developing quality management system, they are already having their business management processes which are up and running, and they might be delivering results. So when you start establishing the quality management system, you give responsibility to one person or one department who might or might not be interacting with all those business processes. So when this person or this department or this organization develops your quality management system, there is no guarantee that those quality management system requirements will also be reflected in your business processes as well. So we need to make sure that top management is first of all fully involved, and top management provides the opportunity to those people who are involved in quality management system development to interact with all the other technical experts and all the other processes to make sure that the quality management system requirements are embedded within the organization's business processes. If this is not done, if this is not considered while developing the quality management system, you will be having two different management systems at the end of the day. One is your actual business management process which you are running for very very long time, and the other one is quality management system which is established only for the purpose of certification. So these two management systems might be having completely two different directions. In that case, your quality management system will not be able to produce the results as expected from a good quality management system. So clause number D is also extremely important, which says that promoting the use of process approach and risk-based thinking. So this is extremely important. As I said earlier, that ISO 9000 standard is based upon process approach and risk-based thinking. And if you effectively implement these two approaches, you will get the real benefit out of your quality management system. But the point is, does your top management realize, are they educated about the process approach, are they educated about the risk based thinking? Because unless and until they are educated about the process approach and risk based thinking, they will not be able to promote this approach within the organization. And if you don't promote this approach and you just try to meet the individual clause requirements, believe me, at the end of the day, you will not be aligned with process approach and risk based thinking. So, according to the process approach, for example, if you have to identify those processes which should come under the quality management system. Once you identify those processes, you need to think about their output. You need to think about the requirements applicable to those outputs. You need to think about what sort of resources are required to achieve those outputs. You need to think about the actions and controls which you need to establish to achieve those outputs, and you need to establish monitoring and measurement systems to achieve those outputs. And this practice has to be repeated for all the processes which you have under quality management system, and you need to consider their interactions as well. So if this approach is not promoted throughout the organization, believe me, you will not be able to address all these processes which are part of your quality management system in this manner, where you have a sequential approach and you are having a step by step approach where you are addressing the process as per the need, as per the requirements of the interested parties. Clause number E is quite straightforward. It talks about the resources that the top management needs to make sure that whatever resources are required for quality management system development, implementation, effectiveness, and continual improvement, they are made available at the right time. Whether it is machine, whether it is equipment, whether it is testing, whether it is inspection, whether it is manpower, whether it is training. So all sorts of resources. So we are not talking only about the financial resources. We are talking about all dimensions of resources. So whenever those resources are needed for the quality management system, they need to be available. The point number F talks about communicating the importance of effective quality management and of conforming to the quality management system requirement. Now the point is, this is one of the responsibilities of top management to communicate these points, the effectiveness of quality management system, and the importance of conforming to the quality management system requirements. But before communicating it to all the other employees, you need to make sure that the top management itself, they realize what is quality management system, and they realize the importance of quality management system, and they realize that what would be the benefits of quality management system. They should be aware that what are the intended outputs of quality management system, what we should be expecting from the quality management system. And they should also realize that if we are not fulfilling the requirements of quality management system, whether at the management level or at the employee level, what will be the impacts and what will be the risk associated with not following those requirements. So this is first of all the responsibility of top management to understand all these dimensions, and then they are responsible to communicate these requirements to all the other employees. The next point is related to ensuring that the quality management system achieve its intended objectives or intended results. So we need to make sure that first of all, the top management is aware that what exactly they want to achieve from quality management system. Because in my experience as a third party auditor or as a consultant or as a trainer, I have seen many organizations where top management is not at all involved with the quality management system development. So they are not fully aware what exactly ISO 9001 is. They are not fully aware what exactly the requirements are. They are not fully aware that what would be the intended outcome of this particular quality management system. They are implementing quality management system for various different reasons. Maybe there is a legal requirement that you have to be certified. Maybe there is a customer requirement that you have to be certified. Maybe there is a contractual obligation that you have to be certified. Maybe there is a competition which is already certified and you want to be certified because your competitor is already certified. So there might be various different reasons the organization gets the ISO certifications and implement the ISO 9001 standard. But in many cases, organizations are going for quality management system certifications, but the top management is not fully aware what exactly the quality management system is and what are the intended results of quality management system. So here a standard is giving responsibility to top management that they should ensure that quality management system achieves its intended results. How they will ensure that it is achieving the intended results if they are not aware what are the intended results? So first of all, we need to define and they need to be aware that what this quality management system can deliver to them, what this quality management system can deliver to the customer, can deliver to the organization, can deliver to the employees, can deliver to the legal bodies. And then the top management will take the responsibility, and then they can ensure that the intended results are achieved from quality management system. The next point, point number H, is related to engaging, directing and supporting persons to contribute the effectiveness of quality management system. It's quite a straightforward requirement, so they will do their responsibility at their part, and they will ensure that at all other management levels which are definitely below them, they are supporting those management levels to ensure that quality management system is effectively implemented. Then comes to point number I, promoting improvement. Improvement is a permanent objective of quality management system. Improvement is a permanent objective of ISO 9001. So it is expected from the top management that they should be promoting improvement within the organization. They need to communicate with their employees through various different ways and means, and they should provide a gesture that they are interested in improvement and they are interested in quality management system improvement as well. The point number J, the last point, talks about supporting other relevant management roles to demonstrate their leaderships as it applies to their areas of responsibility. Very straightforward requirement. The top management will be communicating to the other leadership roles, and they will be supporting other leadership roles to ensure that they are providing enough support to the quality management system. Now let's talk about clause 5.1.2, which is customer focus. According to this clause, the top management shall demonstrate the leadership and commitment with respect to the customer focus by ensuring that the customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirements are determined, understood, and consistently met. B, it says that the risks and opportunities that can affect the conformity of products and services and the ability to enhance customer satisfaction are determined and addressed. And C, the focus on enhancing customer satisfaction is maintained. So first of all, like the previous clauses, the top management's involvement is extremely important in this regard. If the top management is not involved in quality management system, they cannot promote the customer focus at any level. So their involvement is extremely important in quality management system, whether at the development stage or at a later stage when continuous involvement is required. So throughout the organization, there might be various processes where this particular attention, this particular focus will create difference. For example, if you're talking about the procurement activities, and if you are considering what the customer wants, what the legal bodies wants, and how we can satisfy the customer in a better way, so that will be basically influencing your procurement process, that will be influencing your supplier selection process, that will be influencing your product selection process. Similarly, in many other ways, maybe related to the hiring, maybe related to the human resource, this particular focus will be affecting human resource process as well. What type of people we should hire, what type of people customer is expecting from us, what type of people the legal bodies are expecting from us, depending upon our industry, and it will be having an impact. So the top management needs to ensure that wherever this customer focus is requiring to impact, you are doing your level best to ensure that the customer requirement, customer satisfaction is considered as a priority, and within those processes appropriate controls are established to fulfill this particular requirement. So clause 5.2 is about policy, and 5.2.1 is the first subclause of this clause, and it is talking about establishing the quality policy. And according to this clause, the top management shall establish, implement, and maintain quality policy that should be appropriate to the purpose and context of the organization and support its strategic direction. Point number B says provides a framework for setting quality objectives. Point number C says includes a commitment to satisfy applicable requirements. And point number D says includes a commitment to continual improvement of the quality management system. So requirements are quite straightforward. There is nothing to discuss more in detail related to the requirements. But the point is, um, do we have an effective quality policy? Do we have a policy? Do we have a policy which is coming right from the top management? because quality policy provides direction to the organization. Quality policy provides direction to the all the employees, that what exactly top management is expecting from them. So the top management's belief should be reflected in the quality policy. So top management's belief on quality, top management's belief should be based upon all the circumstances. Top management beliefs should be based upon all the dimensions of their organization. They should be considering all the context of the organization, external context, internal context. They should be considering what customer is expecting from them. They should be considering what legal bodies are expecting from them. They should be considering what the stakeholders are considering from them, what they are expecting from them, and they should be considering their short terms and long term plans. And based upon all those dimensions, the top management should be in a position to define the path for the organization's quality management system, and that path will be defined in form of quality policy. So if the quality policy is not coming right from the heart of the top management, that quality policy will not be adding any value. And most of the organizations, because top management is not directly involved in quality management system development, the quality policy is not defined by the top management. Either it is defined by the consultant, or it is defined by a quality manager or management representative or somebody else. But the top people, they are not the ones who are writing the policy. So when you do not define your own quality policy, when you don't define your own belief, then that belief doesn't belong to you. It's like a belief. So if you have a belief, you need to express that belief. So make sure that you, if you are a quality professional, not a part of not a part of the top management, you are responsible to educate the top management related to the requirements of quality management system, related to the requirements of quality policy, and let them define the quality policy, because it's a matter of belief. Standard wants them to believe in quality management system, and standard wants them to give their belief in writing in form of quality policy. So let them define their belief on quality management system, and let them address the points which are required to be addressed in this particular clause. 5.2.2 talks about communicating the quality policy. The quality policy shall be available and maintained as a documented information, be communicated and understood and applied within the organization. And the C point is be available to relevant interested parties as appropriate. So, as far as the documentation is concerned, this is one of the requirements where standard is talking about documented information. Earlier, as I told you, that ISO in the previous versions, ISO was more focused on documentation and giving a lot of requirements related to documentation, very specific requirements related to documentation. But now in this standard, there are only three places where a standard is talking about a documentation requirement. One is clause 4.3, which is talking about the scope of quality management system that should be documented. 5.2, this particular clause which is talking about documentation, where it says that the quality policy statement should be documented. And the third point is in clause 6.2, where a standard is talking about quality objectives, that they should be documented as well. So this is one of the clause out of those three mandatory documentation requirements where a standard is requiring documented information. So whatever quality policy you have, which should be meeting the requirements which we discussed earlier, they should be available in form of documented information. Now, the second point is also important, that you should make sure that it is communicated to relevant people within the organization, so it can be effectively implemented at a ground level. And the third point is also very important, that it should be communicated to the interested parties, which might be the suppliers, which might be the customers, which might be the legal bodies, or which might be any other party as applicable, depending upon the need, depending upon the requirement, depending upon the contractual obligations. You need to make sure that the relevant interested parties are having access to your policy. So, clause 5.3 is about organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. According to this clause, the top management shall ensure that the responsibilities and authorities for relevant roles are assigned, communicated, and understood within the organization. So, keep in mind that the standard is not making it mandatory to document these roles and responsibilities. As a good practice, if you have documented your roles and responsibilities, that is wonderful, but it's not a mandatory requirement. So there might be some organizations which are defining their roles and responsibilities, and they're communicating, and those roles and responsibilities are understood by the relevant people, and that will be acceptable as well. So especially if you are having a very small setup, you are having only few people who are responsible for different activities, and those responsibilities and authorities are communicated verbally to them, that might be acceptable as well in some circumstances. But definitely, if you are having a large organization, you are having hundreds or thousands of employees, in that case, that verbal communication might not work for your organization. So you will decide how you are going to document that information. But still, many auditors, they ask for job description as a result of this particular clause. Standard is not talking about a job description. If you are having job description, wonderful. If you are not having job description, you need to define how these roles and responsibilities are defined and communicated, whether they are defined and communicated verbally, or they are defined and communicated through the procedures or work instructions or job descriptions, or maybe in some other manner. So it is important that anyone who is falling under quality management system, anyone who is having any role in the quality management system, his roles, responsibilities, and authorities are effectively defined, communicated, and understood by the relevant people. Then the standard comes and talks about the top management responsibility to assign the responsibility and authority for ensuring that the quality management system conforms to the requirements of this standard, ensuring that the processes are delivering their intended output, reporting on the performance of quality management system and on opportunities of improvement, in particular to the top management, and ensuring the promotion of customer focus throughout the organization, and finally, last but not the least, ensuring that the integrity of the quality management system is maintained when the changes to the quality management system are planned and implemented. Keep in mind that previously, in the earlier standard of ISO 9001, a standard was requiring the top management to appoint a management representative. That position of management representative was there since 1987, when the first ISO 9000 standard was published. But in this particular standard, in this particular version, in ISO 9001 2015 version, the position of management representative is being eliminated. So most of the people believe that the requirement of management representative is completely eliminated. And that is not so true, because if you look at this requirement, management has to assign somebody. It might be one person, it might be the quality manager, it might be the quality assurance manager, it might be the quality control manager, it might be the management representative, it might be somebody else, or they might distribute these responsibilities to various different people. But at the end of the day, these responsibilities which were there for management representative before in the earlier standards, those responsibilities are still there. So if you are eliminating the position of management representative from your organization, you must need to distribute these responsibilities to other people, because these responsibilities are still there, and you have to confirm to these responsibilities. You require some people, you require somebody who can ensure that quality management system conforms to the requirements of this standard, which is ISO 9001. You require somebody who needs to ensure that the processes are delivering the intended output. So somebody who knows what are the intended outputs, and who's ensuring by various different processes that those intended outputs are being met. Then somebody should be there who can report the performance of quality management system to the top management. So one person or a department or combination of people, whatever, you require people who can take care of these responsibilities which were there for management representative before. So this clause 5.3 is again quite clear and straightforward. It is talking about roles, responsibilities, and authorities for all the people within the quality management system scope. So we will end our discussion for today here, and we will start our next episode with the discussion on clause number 6, which is planning. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next episode.